Hello, hi, welcome or welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name's Alana, I really like books, and if we play our cards right, this weekend we are going to strike the perfect balance of socializing and self-care. I'm starting this vlog off on a Thursday evening. I just finished up my workday, and I'm on my way out to an event. The Sheep Detectives is coming out tomorrow, and so tonight the marketing team is hosting a yarn crafting event in South Philly. And if you've been following along, you know I have recently re-entered my crochet era, so I am very excited to check out another local yarn shop. So we have that tonight. We have a Book Besties birthday gathering tomorrow after work, and then hopefully that means I can utilize Saturday and Sunday for some self-care. We've got lots of chores to get done around the apartment. I have several romance arcs that I would really like to read and review, so I thought it would be a good weekend to get back to the weekend vlogs. Before we head out to the event, I will give you a brief reading update of the current book that I'm on. I'm reading Let's Kiss and Tell by Joss Richard. It comes out August 11th. It is the second novel of Joss Richard. Her first one was It's Different This Time, which I absolutely loved. This one is a little co-workers fake dating romance. Our female main character, Lucy, writes a column in Los Angeles centered around being a single girl in LA. But clicks are down. Her boss says she's got to start writing about being in a long-term relationship because as her readers have aged, their relationships have matured and deepened. The problem is Lucy's never been in a serious relationship, but she runs into a nice man at the bar named Marshall. At the time, she doesn't know Marshall is about to become her coworker, but they get to know each other. He just got out of a serious relationship. He has to go to his ex's wedding this summer, and so they both could benefit from having a fake partner. And even once they figure out that they're coworkers, they decide to just kind of go for it. So far, it's lighthearted, it's fun, it's everything that you want in a contemporary romance. I am 42% of the way through, and I am really liking it. So perhaps, depending on what time we get back tonight, we'll do a little bit of reading before bed, but if not, you know what time we're gonna read. So that'll be on the agenda for tonight / tomorrow. But with that, I think I am going to head out. The event starts in an hour, but I think I'm going to take the bus down there instead of walking because even though it's late in the evening, it's still like humid out. And truthfully, I don't think my hair is gonna last, so it's probably gonna go up in a clip, but I will see you guys at the yarn store. Okay, I wanted to do a quick debrief before bed. The event was so much fun. It was a very nice, creative, and fine motor challenge to use my hands in a new way, so that was very exciting. The store was very cute. I will definitely be back there to buy some yarns. In addition to taking home the yarn that we made, we also got to take home some raw fiber and the little spinning tool that we use so we can try to make more yarn at home, so maybe we'll do that. We also got a little goodie bag, and I'm really excited to see what's inside. I did peek a little. Okay, fun. We have a little sheep crochet project for the Sheep Detectives. It's gonna make these two little mini sheep. Okay, you can't see, maybe you can. They are so cute. I can't wait to make these. Okay, the other exciting bookish thing that's happening that I can't believe I didn't mention at the start of this vlog, tomorrow, Remarkably Bright Creatures releases. Do I watch it the second I wake up? Maybe. Probably not. I'm probably gonna wake up and read. But anyway, that's it for the evening. I'm gonna go to bed. We're gonna do our typical 5 a.m. sprint, and I will check in with you guys probably after the workday before the bookish birthday festivities. reading update of Let's Kiss and Tell. The fake dating has very much started to feel like real dating. Lucy has met Marsh's family. Some of their friends are also aware of this fake dating relationship. Marshall's ex that he is trying to prove that he is over with this fake relationship has now met Lucy and clearly feels intimidated by her. So they're getting what they want. They clearly have some physical tension that for a while they didn't act on because it was part of their original agreement that they wouldn't do anything physical. They have since gone back on that one time by accident, but now they're dealing with the fallout of that because the male main character Marshall very much is not a person who can do something like that without getting emotionally invested and attached. Lucy historically has been completely the opposite. So the morning after, she's like, that was so much fun. This doesn't have to change anything. Like, it doesn't really mean anything different than what we're doing. And for a few hours, he's like, yeah, sure, totally cool, I agree. And then afterwards, he grows a backbone and he's like, wait a minute, no, that is not okay with me. That's not who I am. And then they get into this argument because she's like, well, that was kind of our agreement. And honestly, you're really different from other guys. For other guys, this wouldn't be an issue. And just like really hit him where it hurts. So now I am reading the fallout of that. I can't even say it's a third act breakup. Maybe it is. I don't think so though, because I'm only like 68% of the way through, which feels a little early for a third act, but that's where I'm at in the story. I do feel like when I was reading yesterday, there were, or maybe 2 days ago, there were a few moments where I felt like Marshall was acting a little out of character. Like Lucy is very unapologetic about who she is. She's very open with talking about relationships and sex. And as part of one of the stories that she is helping Marshall with, he also needs to be more comfortable talking about those things, but isn't. So she helps him work through that. And I thought that was very realistic. But then they got into this weird like physical tension point after where I was like, I feel like Marshall is maybe doing it for the plot, like not for himself, but like for the readers. However, I was excited to see him stand up for himself after the night that he spent with Lucy, because I feel like it would be very uncharacteristically dishonest and meek of him to then pretend like he isn't an emotionally attached guy. So I appreciate that. It is a cloudy day here today. We did a couple outings already. It's not even 10 o'clock yet, but the dog and I went on a long walk. I sat in a coffee shop and did some reading. I also went to the grocery store. So now I'm gonna take a little break, sit on the couch, read for maybe an hour or so. I do have a ton of laundry that I need to put away and a ton of laundry that I also need to do. So we are gonna sit on the couch and just have a chill little reading sesh before I then dive into the other chores I need to get done today. Okay, wait, they just reconciled in a way that I'm feeling a little skeptical about. I'm not sure I love it. I'm not gonna say because I don't want to give any spoilers, but the deal is back on with new terms and conditions, but I'm not sure I understand their logic here at all. Because they both feel bad about what happened. They apologize. I thought that was fantastic. But like, the solution that they've come up with, I don't think solves the original problem, but they seem to think it will. And maybe they know themselves better than I know them because I'm not them, but we'll see. Another update. Things are going well. I am really appreciating the storyline about the hard-hitting story that Marshall is putting together with Lucy as an expert witness. I'm almost feeling in some ways this is reading less like a contemporary romance and more like a spicy lit fic. That's not actually what's happening. It definitely still is a contemporary romance, but I think one of the more compelling plot points is the coverage of their various topics of interest. Marshall covers hard-hitting pieces, wars, climate change, crime sprees. Most recently, he's covering the breakup of like a high-profile marriage due to infidelity with a variety of S-workers. But getting back to the relationship piece of things are going very well for them right now. They clearly are a good match in some ways. The thing that I'm struggling with is now they're having a conversation about what they do once Marshall's ex's wedding happens. Like, do they just stop talking to each other? Do they have like a slow ramp down of this relationship? Like, what are they gonna do? And again, the decision that they came to, I'm like, guys, you are not thinking clearly at all about this. And I realize like the reason why they're not thinking clearly about this is because clearly they're both in love with each other and just won't admit that neither of them want this to stop. But it just feels so silly. Like, the choices that they're making are just so silly that they are choosing to believe the lies that they're telling themselves and each other about how temporary this relationship is. Like, that part is just not at all believable. Anyway, I have like an hour and change left, so I'm gonna keep reading. What a mess. I can't decide who my least favorite person is in all of this. You would think it would be Marshall's ex, but I'm not sure it's her. I think it's Marshall's mom. She is just not getting it. She is not understanding where boundaries lie, despite being told where they are. It's the audacity of Marshall's mother for me. Like, she fully is on the ex's side, which is just really something. Okay, this is probably a spoiler, so if you don't want to hear, just skip to this time point. Marshall's mother is still rooting for Marshall and his ex to get back together, even though they are quite literally at the ex's wedding right now. And she's like, I can't believe you broke her heart. Like, your brother has a family, he's happily married, wonderful kid. Like, I want that for you, and you could have that with her. What do you mean he could have that with her? You are at her wedding right now. Your son is there with another woman. Like, some people, I swear, do not hear themselves when they speak. You know what else I don't appreciate in this book? Everyone who just thinks they have Lucy all figured out. People who don't know her well, who've met her for 20 minutes, who had a casual dating relationship with her. They're like, Lucy's gonna chew you up and spit you out. Lucy doesn't take this seriously. They're saying all of this to Marshall, who would know better than anyone. This is gonna be so hard to finish. Like, I'm too riled up right now. Okay, hello. It has been a few hours since we last checked in, but I just finished Let's Kiss and Tell by Joss Richard, and I wanted to give my last page thoughts. Starting with the characters, Lucy and Marshall are both very lovable to me. I think Lucy is confident in who she is, she's unapologetic, and she has been through a lot emotionally since she was a teenager that has made her the anxious, avoidant girl that we see present day in the story. Marsh has also been through a lot emotionally, but has kind of an opposite reaction to that emotional instance than Lucy has. He ends up throwing himself in his work, burying his head in the sand, and that is a huge contributing factor as to why things did not work out with his ex. That being said, the two of them as a pair bring a lot of balance to each other. So I appreciate them very much as individuals. I certainly respect them as a couple. I think their journey had a couple points where I very much disagreed with the choices that they made, their irrational thinking about the choices that they made. And then I also feel like there were a few moments where Lucy was pushing Marshall out of his comfort zone in a good way, but he kind of let her do that so quickly in a way that it felt almost unbelievable at some times. But maybe that was the point all along, that when you meet the right person who pushes you, who you really fall in love with, you just kind of let them lead you into this new territory, and it all ends up working out just fine. But there were a couple of moments where I was like, would he really just be okay with that right now? But all in all, very happy for them and their journey. There was such a good explanation in like the last 90% of the book where Lucy is kind of processing the third act breakup. She's talking to somebody and saying, you know, this relationship felt so easy to me because the whole time we were pretending. And the person she's talking to is like, what about this was pretending? Like, you were quote unquote fake dating, but all that stuff that you did, you really did. You didn't pretend to do it. And I thought that was just so nail on the head funny, and probably like captured exactly what I was feeling throughout as to like, why do you guys think this is a fake relationship? This is very much a real relationship. I feel like in some fake dating situations, you very much are only playing the role of a couple in front of other people. But Lucy and Marsh fully dated. Like, they had plenty of dates in private where there was no audience. They really fully dated. So it's very funny for them to be like, we shouldn't do this. It's like, you already are doing this. I also am always a big fan of a romance that has something else going on besides will this couple or how will this couple get together. And in this story, it was the piece that Marshall was writing about this high profile couple divorcing. Not only did that turn into a think piece on the S-work industry, but it also pushed both of them from a career standpoint, because Lucy served as an expert witness in that story, which served as a transition from like relationship blogger to expert in her field. And Marshall was really inspired by Lucy's honesty in her writing and decided to transition into a more opinion-based writer than like a facts-based news journalist. So I found those journeys to be really compelling as well. From a writing standpoint, I do think that there were, again, just a few instances where there was a little bit more telling than showing. And I shouldn't even say more telling than showing, because there was plenty of showing. But I think that as readers, we are very easily able to understand why Lucy is hesitant to get into a relationship. And I just felt it didn't need to be spelled out as frequently as it was. The other thing that I didn't really love is that Lucy has this narrative from her childhood about why she doesn't want to be in a relationship. And we find out at like the maybe like 80% mark that she's actually missing a critical key piece of information here that really flips the narrative on its head a little bit. I personally didn't love being kept in the dark so long about that fact. However, the fresh perspective that it gave Lucy and the way that it encouraged her to kind of rethink how she thinks about love and relationships, I thought was really beautiful and really important for growth. So I'm mad, but I appreciate it. Ultimately, this was a 4-star read for me. The way that I'm feeling right now, it's like this book made me so mad and I loved it. I'm sure you've also had an experience like that with a book book where you're reading it and you're turning the pages and you're like, what are you guys doing? These side characters, I didn't even go on a rant about those people. Everyone is way too hard on Lucy and I do not appreciate it. Oh my gosh, I'm still mad at it. And the worst part, Lucy forgives most of these people. Like, she's not as mad as I am. But I digress. A good book should make you feel something, and I felt a lot of things reading this book. So kudos to Joss Richards, another slam dunk. I will likely be purchasing a physical copy for my bookshelves, so thank you. That actually took me a little bit longer to finish than anticipated because I was sitting all cuddly cozy on the couch. It was a cloudy day. I ended up taking a nap, had to go run some errands. I did some laundry. So now it's kind of dinner time, and I think what I'm gonna do is this disrespectful? I really wanna watch Remarkably Bright Creatures, but I also wanna eat sushi. Is that like so rude of me to be eating sea creatures in front of Marcellus? Like, probably, right? What if I just don't order any squid or octopus? What if it's all just fishes? Then we're like kindred spirits, right? That's okay? Should I just get veggie rolls? I don't know. Anyway, that's the plan. We're gonna watch Remarkably Bright Creatures. Something is very wrong with my TikTok algorithm because I have posted multiple times about how much I love that book, about my journey to find my most favorite edition of that book, and yet somehow my algorithm has given me no content about the Remarkably Bright Creatures movie, which I'm honestly really mad about from like a social media use standpoint, but I'm actually really grateful for from a going into this blind standpoint, because it is so rare in this day and age to go into a piece of media without having like a preconceived expectation or notion about how it's gonna go. Obviously, I hope it's gonna be spectacular, but let's see. Making full use of our free will today, and I'm simply gonna go pick up a few things at Reading Terminal Market. The thing about living so close to something that people tend to visit when they come into town is that I forget I can just go there just because. So I have a couple specialty items that I want to pick up today. I need ground lamb for the dog. I'm also running out of honey, which I really need. And I figure while I'm there, I might as well just peruse and see what other things kind of tickle my fancy, maybe pick up some lunch, a little sweet treat, just because I can. Honestly, I feel like the only time I really go to Reading Terminal is when I have friends in town and we want to go either get some fun groceries for them to take home, or we want to go there for lunch in between activities. So this is actually, I think, my first or second time there by myself just to buy things for me. I got my honey, I got my ground lamb, and I got a couple other fun things. I already cooked the lamb and fed it to the dog. He seemed to really enjoy that. I also got 2 beautiful steaks that are sitting in the fridge for me to cook at some point in the next few days, but I thought I would show you what else I got. Okay, sorry, we're back after a little hiatus because the camera battery died, and for some reason, I have not been able to find my extra battery since moving into this new apartment, so I had to just let this one charge for a little bit. But in the meantime, I did a set of press-on nails, and I am satisfied with how they look, but I am dissatisfied with honestly how long it took me to do them. They are the Olive and June brand that like don't require glue. I've never used them before, and I thought that because they didn't have glue, they'd have like adhesives on the back of the nails, but actually the painstaking process of measuring like the right size for your nail has to happen twice, because you have to measure the press-on itself, but then also the little like adhesive sticker that they use instead of glue. It just took like honestly longer than a normal manicure. But anyway, that's what I did while the camera battery charged. So now let's get back to the things that I bought at Reading Terminal. Our first stop was to the natural beeswax store. It's called Be Natural LLC. I went primarily because I needed honey. They had so many different kinds, so I got just like a pure raw clove honey. Will this focus? Will you be able to see anything I purchased? Okay, hello, focus. Okay, there we go. Finally, okay, thank you. They also had a bunch of creamed honeys. They have so many different flavors, but I thought that the cinnamon flavor would be so delicious in tea, or even like at the bottom of an espresso that I brew for a little latte. How delicious does that sound? They have the best chapsticks. They have so many different flavors. Today I got banana. I've never tried this one before. Next up, I got 2 of the Algae Cooking Club oils. I got their shiitake mushroom oil, as well as their gochugaru chili oil. Do I have a plan for how to use these? Not really, but I think they'd be really good if I do like a homemade like noodle stir fry situation. Even if I order takeout and I just want some extra flavor to drizzle on top, I feel like that could be really yummy. All right, lastly, I got a piece of chocolate peanut butter fudge. I literally only got 1 piece because fudge is one of those things that I feel like you take 2 bites of and then you literally can't have anymore because it's so sweet. Also like weighs a ton, even though it's like literally just a singular piece of chocolate peanut butter fudge. It looks delicious. I'm just gonna take a little nibble. Oh, it's so good. Okay, now I don't need anything sweet for like another 17 hours. I say as I pull out my last sweet treat. On my way out, after I grabbed lunch, I think, was this from Termini Bros? No. Who makes the donuts? Beelers? They're on the corner, like right when you're exiting, right on like Arch and 12th. Got some sticky buns. They were just so beautiful. I could not resist. And I feel like what I want to do before I eat them is like stick them in the oven or maybe even the air fryer for just like a few minutes to get them like warm and gooey. I just think that would be divine. So that's everything I got at Reading Terminal. My only plan for the rest of the day is I want to read. I want to do a lot of organizing around the apartment. And I would love to go to the library because since I moved to this apartment, I haven't been to the branch that's closer in my new neighborhood. But it is such a rainy, gloomy day. I think before I do anything productive, I'm just going to rot on the couch for a little bit. So I will touch base with you guys when I have some more to show or some more to share. Description. And this one's not even just a description of food, it's a simile describing Poppy's hair, like egg yolks, lemon zest, corn after it's been roasted, and silky like softened butter. That's the thing about a foodie book, they're just like so sensory. It's delightful. It is Monday now, and I don't think I filmed enough to justify only giving you a weekend vlog, so we're gonna roll this into the rest of the week. Yesterday was a very lazy day. I spent most of the day just couch rotting with the dog, but I did start a new book, Yes Chef by Grace Riley. It comes out later this spring. I'm maybe like 15% of the way through now, and I am really enjoying it. This is a contemporary romance between a grumpy chef and an influencer who comes from a family of restaurateurs. She's kind of like the black sheep of her family. She's got ADHD, nobody takes her career seriously. They all kind of work in the industry in some ways and really want her to succeed, but can't figure out a way to help her achieve success in the way that they think success needs to look like. So she is determined to prove them wrong. She's coming off of a breakup, and our male main character, Jack, is a chef in one of her family's restaurants, but he is currently going through a lot, has been a terrible employee, and recently gets fired. However, when his mentor passed away, he left his restaurant to Jack. So Jack has an opportunity now to revive this abandoned restaurant, reestablish his reputation, and prove Poppy's dad wrong. And so they are gonna work together because they have that shared shared objective. So Poppy is gonna help with kind of like front of house, branding, social media presence so that there's some buzz around the restaurant. He's gonna run it as the head chef. And obviously somewhere along the way, they're gonna realize that they don't actually hate each other. So I'm really, really liking it so far. It's one of those books that the second I picked it up from page 1, I was instantly hooked. Like I just knew I was gonna love it. And so far that is ringing true. So I am gonna go into the office today, probably do some reading on my commute, but I will give you guys a reading update later this evening. Okay, hello, we are back. We went on a little dilly-dally adventure with one of our book besties. The first item on my agenda for the morning was to get a replacement library card. So I walked down to the branch that is closest to my new apartment for the first time. I got a new card and I walked out of there with a couple books. We've got Family Meal by Brian Washington. I'll read you the blurb. Cam is living in Los Angeles and falling apart after the love of his life has died. Kai's ghost won't leave Cam alone. His spectral visits wild, tender, and unexpected. When Cam returns to his hometown of Houston, he crashes back into the orbit of his former best friend TJ and TJ's family bakery. TJ's not sure how to navigate this changed Cam, impenetrably cool and self-destructing, or their charged estrangement. Can they find a way past all that has been said and left unsaid to save each other? Could they find a way back to being okay again, or maybe for the first time? Sounds right up my alley. I also picked up Lincoln in the Bardo by George Saunders. I don't even know how to describe what this book is about. The description is very long, but the whole story takes place over the course of a single night in a graveyard, and it's like a historical fantasy. I hear it's kind of polarizing, but I am intrigued and want to check it out. And then lastly, from the You're in Luck section right at the front of the store, I picked up The Future Saints. It's like a musical sort of love story between two people who are starting a band, I believe. Sorry, not two people starting a band. The lead singer of a band and the record executive who's supposed to be like working to make them famous. That's what I picked up from the library. Then me and my friend went on a couple different adventures. We were on our way over to this stationery store in Fairmount. On our way, we stopped at Reading Terminal Market, got a little lunch. We went to the stationery store. It was absolutely delightful. Let me show you what I got. The shop owner's husband was working the front and he was so nice. I got this gorgeous little bookmark that's on this very nice cardstock. And the backside actually has different flowers, so it's kind of like a 2-for-1. I also got a sticker pack that comes inside the little like cookie / sewing kit, and I bought it specifically because one of the stickers inside is the cookie tin, which if you don't know, I have it as a purse. So I really wanted the sticker so I could put it in my Kindle case. So I'm very excited about that. And then I got several pens. These like short chubby uniballs are my favorite. I have this one in like an off-white color and a sky blue, so I got this like mint green. One of my book friends, Spencer, recently enlightened me that they also have the long version of this pen, and I found them at the store. So I got a white and a dark blue. So my journaling and planner game is about to be on a whole new level. And then the last thing I got, this cute little bowl that I think would be great for like holding rings when I'm in the kitchen. It's this tiny little mint colored bowl, but there's a little koi fish inside, and that's so cute. I just couldn't leave it. I had to have it. Then on our way back to the car, we stopped by a vintage shop, and I picked up this gorgeous bracelet. I have nowhere to wear it, but I will find an occasion. I am obsessed. Had to have her. And then from Fairmount, we went up to Manayunk to visit Cupid's bookshop. I went specifically for one book. I left with 4, which like, it could have been worse. The book I went for is Out of Her League by Ava Rani. This just came out on Tuesday. I'm very excited about this one. This is about a surgeon who starts dating a famous athlete to make her ex jealous. It's got everybody saying, don't get mad, just date his favorite athlete, which I think is so funny. So I'm excited to read this one. They also had a table full of their AAPI authors for AAPI Heritage Month. And my book bestie who I was with swears by this particular fantasy series. The third and final book of the series is coming out very soon. It was one of those like highly coveted arcs at BookCon, and she read it. loved it. So I decided to start it. I picked up books 1 and 2, 1 because I very much trust her taste, and 2 because the bookseller was saying that once book 3 comes out, the sprayed edition paperbacks are gonna be very, very hard to find. So I decided to just pick them up while they were in store. So I got book 1 of the Hurricane Wars and book 2, A Moon Rising. And I mean, look how pretty. Is it painful that I'm gonna have to wait so long for the 3rd version to come out in this form? Yes. But I think it'll be worth it. And lastly, I have been saying in video after video after video that I am just craving like a good thick book, like something that hurts your hands to hold a little bit. You've got to crack the spine, peel back those pages really intensely. Like that is the reading experience I am craving. And so I finally found the book that I think is going to satisfy that for me. I picked up Direbound. She is thick, she's a paperback, it's a fantasy involving wolves. Like I think this is just gonna hit the exact spots that I need it to hit, and I'm very, very excited. So that is everything I bought today. We're having another one of those days where it's gloomy, cloudy, but not quite raining 1 second, and then the sun comes out for 20 minutes, and then we're back to cloudy. So I think we're gonna have just a night in, but what I'm probably gonna do is change into comfy clothes and get back into Yes Chef. At this point, I think I'm like 40% of the way through the story. I'm still absolutely loving it. They are working on the restaurant. Jack is teaching Poppy how to cook. She's actually really surprising him with her skill, with her business prowess. He's still very prickly with her, but it's more in like a fun-loving way now. They've definitely moved on from like their heated rivalry to more of like a flirty kind of camaraderie in their business relationship. I really do still feel the need to pace myself with this book because if I just fly through it, then it's gonna be over too quickly, and I really wanna sit and enjoy them for quite a bit. But I do think tonight is the night where I'm just gonna sit down for like a few hours and bang out as many pages as humanly possible. So I will check in with you guys when I have a reading update to share. I am so excited about this book stack. It's like sick. It's been a minute since we checked in. I realized the last that I told you from a reading standpoint is that I started Yes Chef by Grace Riley. And at this point, I'm happy to tell you I finished and very much enjoyed Yes Chef. So I'm currently getting ready for a Philly Book and Sip Club event because it's not an Always Bookish in Philadelphia vlog without a Philly Book and Sip Club party. This month's party is Y2K themed. Our book was Twilight, so I'm getting dressed for that now, but I figured I could do a little get ready with me and we could talk about Yes Chef. Overall, Yes Chef is gonna get 4 stars for me. I had such a good time with that book. It was one of those books that from the get-go I was hooked. Like I had to resist just flying through the first like 30% of it. I actively was pacing myself because I didn't want to just rush through the whole thing, but it was highly, highly entertaining. I think Jack and Poppy as individual characters are very compelling from the start. And I would say Poppy maintains the compelling nature throughout the entirety of the book. There were some moments where I was getting a little frustrated with Jack. He's just very broody. He's been through a lot. He's actively going through a lot, and I get it. And generally speaking, I do enjoy a broody male main character, but every now and then Jack would just do these things that were so frustrating, and you understand why he's nervous to let people in, you understand why he's nervous to be honest with others and himself, but you just want to shake him a little bit. That being said, I think him and Poppy are an excellent match for each other. I think they bring nice balance to each other. They have just enough similarities without being like exact carbon copies of each other, and they have enough differences where there's a nice playful dynamic in their relationship. They're not just always like agreeing with each other. They do a lot of actually pushing each other to be the best versions of themselves. They both have ADHD, and what I really appreciate about the neurodivergent representation here is that it doesn't become the whole entire story. Does it come up multiple times that they have ADHD? Yes, it does, and it comes up in ways that make sense. It's particularly nice the way that they each highlight how they like to cope with the way that their brain works as they're going through like the cooking and kitchen prep process. Poppy likes the music really quiet when she's trying to focus. Jack likes it loud. They have to compromise. Things of that nature. Like the little details that go into everyday life I think are highlighted really nicely for these two characters. I think it's a little bit more tragic for Poppy just because she is a girl with ADHD who was diagnosed much later, so she had to deal with being severely misunderstood throughout her childhood. as well as into adulthood, I would say that she's pretty misunderstood. And she's got a lot to prove, and I think that you really root for her throughout. All that to say, I loved Poppy. I really did like Jack too, but by the 65% mark, he was still kind of not showing the emotional growth that I would have wanted to see from him, especially because at this point in his life, he does have a lot of supportive people in his corner that he's just not taking advantage of. Okay, also, how did people do blush in the 2000s? I feel like whatever blush technique I've been using is not the correct blush technique for the theme of this event, but I don't know how to do 2000s blush. I'm sorry. Maybe I'll just try to do it the way I used to do it. I don't know, we'll see. From a romance aspect, I do like how things evolved between Jack and Poppy for the most part. Essentially, they start as business partners. They're trying to help each other grow. They realize that they have an attraction to each other, and they say, you know what? While we're here in Florida on this little career side quest, let's just do whatever we want to do physically, and it'll mean nothing. And they have a mutual understanding about that, and it's fine, until of course they both catch feelings for each other. I think the parts of their romantic relationship that I didn't love was some of like the physical scenes between them. There's one part in particular where a trope comes up that I did know was going to happen, specifically related to what Jack likes from a physical standpoint. And even though I knew to expect it, I feel like it happened so abruptly that I, as a reader, felt just kind of like pushed into the deep end, which takes you out of the story a little bit, right? You want to be kind of like breadcrumbed up to that point, and I just feel like there was a moment where I'm like, ooh, how did we get here? I'm not quite there with you. But I do think that's kind of my one complaint from like a romantic chemistry standpoint. Otherwise, it was all very, very sweet. He teaches her how to cook. He builds her up. He knows that she really needs this restaurant to be successful so that her family will take her seriously. And he really wants that for her as much as he wants the restaurant to be successful for him as the chef. I absolutely hated the third act breakup, but I really dislike most third act breakups, so that's not specifically unique to Yes Chef. But the grand gesture resolution at the end was quite sweet, and I very much enjoyed that. There are some really nice found family elements in this story because Poppy is new to Florida, specifically to the area where Jack grew up. She really has to win over a whole crew of new people who have known Jack forever, and she does so very easily because she's a very magnetic person, and they all just mesh together really well, so that was really nice to see. And I've said this before, but I just love a food-centric novel. Not only because of the gorgeous sensory language related to food, but I just find that it's a fun way to have our characters slow down, connect with each other, learn a new skill, be more romantic and intimate. It just kind of sets a nice scene. So do I recommend it if you are a contemporary romance lover? Absolutely. If you're a grumpy sunshine person, get ready, because there's a whole lot of grump and a whole lot of sunshine. And if you at any point have ever been attracted to a chef, you'll get the hype behind why Poppy likes Jack so much. And you will like Jack so much too. I like Jack, don't get me wrong, I know I've ragged on him a little bit, but it's just because I want him to be happy and enjoy his life, which by the end he does. Once I finished Yes Chef, I dove into Reel by Kennedy Ryan in preparation for Score. Now, the Kennedy Ryan herself says you do not need to read Reel in order to enjoy Score. And like, who am I to argue with Kennedy Ryan? I'm nobody. However, I am a scholar and a purist at heart, and so it just felt wrong for me to jump into Score without having any context from Reel. And I'm not gonna lie, Britt and her book said that reading Score without reading Reel is little ponytail behavior, and I do not ever want to exhibit little ponytail behavior. So I'm maybe 30% of the way through that now. I'm really liking it. The audiobook in particular is spectacular. I'm going back and forth between the physical and the audio just depending on what I'm doing. And the audiobook just has so much soul, for lack of a better word. Like, the narrators are just so in character, and because there's so many musical elements to the storyline, there's like singing, there are flashbacks to this celebrity who our main character Neva is portraying in a biopic. So I'm having a really good time with that. I'm hoping to finish that up tomorrow so I can jump into my copy of Score, and I think it's just gonna be a great time. I hope you guys are enjoying this like accidental contemporary romance theme that we have going on in this reading vlog. I didn't mean for it to be that way, but I guess, like, you know, the weather's warmer, we're outside, it's just time for a fun flirty romance. Oh, battery's dying. Okay, I'm gonna finish up my Y2K makeup and then I will see you guys at the book party. Okay, we are dressed and ready for book club. I am actually loving how everything came out from like a makeup and outfit perspective. Very excited about this bag that I found at the vintage store today. It is perfect. They actually had a whole end cap dedicated to Y2K accessories. It was meant to be. Let's go talk to the girls about Twilight.
finished Real. I gave it 4 stars. I thought it was really excellent chronic illness representation. It had a fun actress / musical element to it. Very, very good. I feel like Neva, the female main character, is like a close personal friend of mine now. Her love story with Canon was really sweet and beautiful. There's just nothing really to not like. I knocked a point off of it because I found the writing to be just like a smidge repetitive. Like, we keep getting a lot of statements about how Neva's sister was the pretty one growing up, and some of the metaphors, while they were really beautiful, were like a little on the nose. So lost a star for writing style, but overall really, really excellent. 2 nights ago, while I was making dinner, I started the audiobook of Score, which I'm now 7 chapters in, and it's feeling like a 5-star read for me. So far, I am loving the bi representation. I'm loving the mental illness representation. I am really loving how our male main character, Monk, even though he doesn't exactly understand everything that our female main character is going through, he's doing the best that he can right now with the pieces of information that he has to be a supportive partner. But it's really hard for him because right now the relationship is still kind of new. They're still in college, but he's very serious about her and knows it. He doesn't want to scare her off, but he's also not shying away from how strongly he feels about her. Where I'm at in the story now, we've had our second instance of her being kind of borderline on having what I would call probably a manic episode. Like, she's just very disinhibited in a way that is not productive for her goals or her wellness. And so I think we're going to see that play out a little bit more in the coming few chapters. My lunch break is almost over, so I'm going to have to pause my reading, and then I'm meeting some friends for happy hour tonight. But guaranteed, when I wake up tomorrow morning, I'm dedicating the whole day to reading this book. It just has that page turner quality to it. It is fabulous, excellent. Can't wait to see where this goes.
Okay, hello. I apologize that I jumped into my first update on Score without giving you a little preamble to how we got here, so we're gonna do that now. I am currently about 70% of the way through Score by Kennedy Ryan, which is the second book in her Hollywood Renaissance series. I finished book 1, which is Real, last week. I gave it 4 stars. It was very enjoyable. Book 2 follows the love story between Verity, who is a screenwriter, and Monk, who is a music producer. They meet actually in college when Monk is a senior and Verity is a transferred in junior, but she's supposed to be a senior. They have a very brief but very intense relationship that comes crumbling apart in a very tragic way because Verity is struggling hardcore with an undiagnosed bipolar 1 diagnosis. The thing is, though, she doesn't know this about herself until after this big bad thing happens between them, and by the time she figures this out about herself and her family rallies around her and she gets the appropriate therapeutic and medicinal supports that she needs, her and Monk are already done and dusted. They are not in communication, and she's not about to reach back out to him and say, hey, sorry this terrible thing happened, but this is why. Like, she wants to keep her information to herself. And the fact of the matter is, she doesn't feel like him knowing will really change anything. What happened happened. And now that she is 10 years past her diagnosis, she's decided that long-term relationships aren't for her. She doesn't want to start a family. She just wants to focus on being healed as an individual in this world. And to her, that means not bringing anybody else into the fold. However, now that we are 12 years past the fallout of their college relationship, they end up working on a biopic, which is the film that Real primarily centers on. So Verity is writing the script, Monk is producing the score, and we knew all of that from book 1 in Real, but now we're getting to see their relationship really come to the forefront. What I think is different between Score and Real is that because Real follows one of the actresses in the film, there is so much content in that story about the making of the film. Here, while we know they're both working on the film, I feel most of the content of this story really centers around Verity as an individual. And even though we know she's working on the movie, we're not getting a whole bunch of scenes related to her writing process. We get a couple scenes here and there about her being consulted on set, talking with the director, obviously meeting with Monk and with Canon from book 1. But really the main story here is Verity's journey to manage her diagnosis. The subplot is the love between her and Monk, and then there really isn't any other plot besides that. Those are the 2 points. And while everybody has obviously raved about this book and said what a beautiful representation of mental health this brings, there's also a lot of queer representation in this book. And obviously everyone is obsessed with Monk, our leading man, and that is all valid and true, but I feel no one warned me for how absolutely gutting much of this book is. It is not pretty to watch somebody struggle in the way that Verity is struggling, but I think the way that it is written is so raw and so honest and so important to consume. But I do feel like you should have a warning if you're considering reading this book. It's hard to read, but you also can't put it down. It is gutting, it is heart-wrenching, and it's also really, really moving, but like in a hard way. And I just feel like that did not get communicated to me, and so I want to be the one to communicate to you that while yes, I'm not even done with this book and I think it's going to be a 5-star read and I definitely recommend it, it comes with a lot of caution. That being said, I flew through like half of this book yesterday, and so what I think I'm going to do is sit down and either read a little bit more in the physical, or what I might do is listen to the audio while I work on my crochet project. I'm currently working on a blanket. I obviously have a ways to go, but the audiobook for this story, similar to the audiobook for Real, has a lot of nice musical elements. It's really very cinematic to listen to, so I might do that while I do some coffee and crochet time. And so I think the next time we check in, it'll be to give you a final book review for this vlog. Where we're at in the story now, Monk and Verity are working on this project. Things have been very awkward at first. Monk is clearly still really upset about the way that things ended. However, given some time and given the fact that he is still just so clearly in love with her, they decide that they are okay with having a physical relationship while they're working on this film together, but that it's going to be nothing more. So at this point in the story, we're 70% through. They've been doing this quote-unquote co-workers with benefits situation for a couple weeks now. They're at a New Year's Eve party, people are hitting on Verity, Monk is getting very jealous, and so I think this is going to be a real test to see if they can finally just be honest with each other. Mind you, Verity still has not shared her diagnosis with Monk, and I'm not saying she should, but I am saying that I want her to, because I just want them to be together and be happy. So we are going to get back to this crochet project. I'm going to listen to this book on audio, and we will see how these two people finally reconcile their differences and commit to each other. Okay, hello, it's the next day and I wanted to give you my final review on Score by Kennedy Ryan. I hope this comes as a surprise to no one, but I am giving this book 5 solid stars. It's gorgeous, it's gut-wrenching, and it's a story and characters that I will be thinking about for quite a while. Even though this definitely is a contemporary romance, it kind of is more a women's fiction story about a woman struggling with her bipolar 1 diagnosis and the love that she finds along the way. I think typically the formula for a romance is how will this couple get together, and maybe there's a subplot going on of something going on in their families or some sort of career drama. And I love a romance with a subplot. I would argue that romances for me don't get 5 stars unless there is a subplot going on, but this book reads a little bit different. This is really just a story about Verity, and Verity learning about herself and finding the tools to help herself and being her fullest, brightest, boldest self while coping with the ups and downs that come with her diagnosis. I think in support of that, Monk becomes a like 2.5 dimensional character. He's got his own career, he's got his passion for music, and he does have a family drama storyline going on, but it's very, very minuscule in the grand scheme of things. And it's one that even at the start of the story, he's kind of made his peace with it. So it's not like he really goes on a huge journey throughout the story in dealing with that. It's just kind of an element of his character. But honestly, I wasn't even mad. I think that in other romances, I would have wanted something more going on for the male main character, but Verity had so much compelling content that I really didn't care what was going on with Monk, aside from how he supported her. There were just so many gorgeous passages in this book. I was writing in the margins, I was underlining quotes, and I just love a book that gets a visceral response from you in an emotional sense, but also compels you to scratch it up a little bit too. So overall, a delightful reading experience, but I just feel compelled to warn you, don't be fooled by this gorgeous cover, by the beautiful art inside. This is not an easy, breezy, flirty romance. There are flirtatious moments, there's a lot of steam and spice in this book, but the thing that really is gonna stick with me is how bruising it felt. It like hurts to read it. It hurts your soul, it hurts your spirit, because it's just one person's story, but it really is the story of millions of people who are going through the same thing that Verity has gone through, and in many situations with less support. So it just really makes your heart break for a lot of people as you're reading about this one fictional person. So kudos to Kennedy Ryan for doing it again. The 3rd book in this trilogy is coming out next summer, and I'm counting down the days. I cannot wait. And so with that, we are gonna end this vlog on a very strong note. I appreciate you guys hanging with me for this bookish month in Philadelphia. And if you made it to the end, I have a request. Because I read so many romances back to back, I wanna do a strong genre pivot for my next month of reading. And I'm thinking about doing like a summerween sort of vibe, like spooky thriller horrors, but maybe with like a campy twist to them. So if you have titles that you think would be good for that theme, drop them down below. And I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.